always thought that it was like pretty simple, but I'm learning, as with everything, once you dive a little bit deeper and you get some resources that really hit home besides like the normal resources that you would think, you begin to understand certain things. And I just want to talk about those certain things with you. And if you're not interested in that because like that's just not the kind of content that you want, I understand. But if you are, then keep watching. I just wanted to be like, hey, this is what today is gonna be like if you're up for it. So, okay, to give you context, I've already given you a lot of context behind like my sexual experience, but to give you context, I thought that having good sex just equaled, or the elements that played into having good sex was just your chemistry, like your sexual chemistry or your like attraction. Like that was my very primitive idea of how it was gonna equal something amazing. I don't think it's very explained to you. Well, never was explained to me. I had to like learn things on my own. And then like once I had experience, I was like kind of checking, like fact checking against like what I'd heard and then what I was experiencing. And that left me to be like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not having these good things if I'm just replicating what everybody else is saying? Just go find a hot guy, like just create a steamy moment, just do all these things to get there, and then the rest should kind of like fall into place. That's not how it works. And I guess it took until I was almost 40 to like figure that out, and it might be like a no crap to you, but to the people that maybe thought like me, or just you're interested in this because you have a similar goal to me of like enjoying yourself while you're intimate with somebody when you previously were not, and you're like trying to figure out like the actual reasons why. You're not just gonna like give up on it, which is like, you know, up to you if you want to do that. But if you do have similar goals, and maybe this is, you know, something that you thought too. Like I used to think that if I just arrived to the situation, whatever the situation was, whether it be a Tinder date, whether it be with my boyfriend, whether it be like whomever, when I was about to get intimate with somebody, that the setting and the chemistry between the both of us was just gonna carry it to the greatest level of satisfaction during, and then at the peak, and then kind of after. But I didn't realize there was things that I could do on my own that like put me in tune with my body, and then like actual like techniques that you can like use. I didn't know that, and like that seems really stupid to say out loud, but like I didn't. And because I just didn't know, like I just kind of thought that if I like set the scene up for good sex, then it would just happen. And it was kind of like, this is bad, but it was kind of like more on the guy, because like their technique or their experience would give me, you know, like I put like, not the blame, but I put a lot of responsibility on the outcome and like on the experience of it, like overall. I put a lot of that on like them, because I never really had problems enjoying it by myself. I never really had problems having good orgasms. I never really had problems getting aroused. I never really had problems, like, I think, with that part. And so if I didn't have a good sexual experience with somebody, like it was just kind of like meh, or it was actually kind of bad, Like the only difference was I added them to it, right? And so I didn't understand that there's a whole lot to like think about when it comes to when you're by yourself and then when you're with someone else. So let me break what I was like kind of like learning down. I think a lot of my videos up until now have been talking about like the mental aspect of working up to what I found arousing. I would pick the guy that I felt chemistry with. I had to learn how to be confident in my body. I had to learn how to be confident in my mind. Just up until like the getting to know you part. Never mind like when you're actually having sex. But like there's like different phases of being comfortable. And I just thought like once you were comfortable, you know, you go have sex and then you have good sex. Like I didn't know that it takes a little bit more effort, it takes a little bit more vulnerability, or it takes a little bit more experience, or it just takes a little bit more technique or something. I didn't know that. I just thought that once you prepped yourself for the date and then you were good to go with that, and I just thought then it'll take care of itself. So for like, I think the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, you've seen me go from like 0 dates, still wanting this this particular thing with someone, to experiencing some dates that were like sort of kind of confusing at points in time, but like I was getting a little bit somewhere. I was gaining a little bit of traction because I saw like some differences from this period of time in my dating life versus like when I was first Tinder dating and I didn't really date with intentions like 2 or 3 years ago. So I didn't really learn a lot about how to have good sex then. I just learned a lot about how to be detached from someone if you're trying to be casual, which I think is like a good thing. But I also think that, you know, that could be kind of a hindrance later on if you actually want to develop something. But anyways, that's like its own thing. But I don't want to say that phase before, like the 2-3 years ago when I didn't really understand what I was doing on Tinder, but I was having kind of a bunch of dates and then I was experiencing some casual sex. I don't want to say that that was not useful. It just wasn't useful in my goal of immediate have like the best sex ever. I'm not really too sure why my goal is to like have the best sex ever, and it's not like to have the biggest orgasm. It's not to like, it's just to like learn what I'm capable of, I guess. And like I didn't really know what I was capable of because I'd never been in the situation where it was even kind of sort of getting to the part where I think there's closer to election time, so I get a lot of spammy calls. Sorry, I'll put it on mute. So anyways, I'd never really put myself in a situation where I could maybe even try out different things or like whatever. So lately I've been understanding, because I'm in like kind of like a lull right now where I'm taking kind of a step back from just adding new people into my life and just kind of thinking about my experiences, and then obviously trying to get my body in check, like my next situation. By the way, I have PT for the first time tomorrow, and then I was just barely today referred to a spine specialist. So I think I'm gonna be well on my way to getting all fixed up. But I wanted to make use of this time, this downtime, and so I've been listening and researching the internet like I do, going down a ton of Reddit holes, and then like kind of experimenting, you know, by myself, and kind of thinking about what created the best experience so far in my life versus what I'm learning. And so I kind of just wanted to talk about it. Initially thought that it was mostly the guy's responsibility, but now after listening to like hours of podcasts and like different from different perspectives. One of my favorite ones is from, so far, is from Dr. Malik. And it's really difficult to get like useful information, like actual technique useful information, and like learning how your body actually responds, and like what is normal, what's like the parameters of normal, and like when to seek help either physically or mentally, you know, on stuff, if you have sexual problems outside of that, once you know what is bodily function normal. So like going to a doctor, she's like a pelvic doctor, she specializes in like hormones, and she's like really smart, and she like she understands how to explain things to somebody with like nebulous problems. Like I have performance anxiety if you're like a woman or a man, or you have ED, or you're not in the mood, and like why wouldn't you be in the mood, and like explaining during different phases of life, or like different phases of your menstrual cycle, or during different times where you're stressed or not stressed. Like these things can affect these things in this way, and this is how it manifests when that's happening, blah, blah, blah. And like what to do and blah, blah, blah. So I think it's super important that I'm not going to like, I don't know, porn and figuring out like how to have good sex. Like that's for entertainment, and that's lovely. That's like a good way to understand how to be creative with like maybe positions and stuff, or like what might be enjoyable that way, right? Like I don't think that that's like a good way to like learn how to actually achieve what they're portraying. And even though you don't know if they're just faking it, right? Like you don't know. So, and like I learned that. But like a lot of people like don't really research, I don't think, like the actual ways to have good sex, like the actual ways to like do different things, like break it down into like learning from different resources that are like clearly more reputable than you know, what's widely available, because it's like not a talked about thing. It's like very hush hush, which is like really, I don't know, it's very bizarre. But if it was more talked about, then I think that more people would be enjoying themselves, and then maybe more people would be like fulfilled and happy. I'm not saying that if you don't have sex, like either good or any, then you can't be happy. Like I understand that you can be, but if you're trying to improve on that, and then you're kind of seeing success on that, like wouldn't that be more like fulfilling and enjoyable on a human level? So anyways, I think a lot of people would be like much less frustrated with certain things. I know for me, if I'm like fulfilled that way, I can just like focus on like other things. Like that is just like satiated, and then I can like move on. Like I'm just good. Instead of like being distracted, or instead of being like frustrated or like whatever. There's a certain amount of like distraction when it comes to that. I don't know, maybe that's just a me thing, but I think like some of the guys that I've talked to kind of like say that, like once it's kind of over for them, they're like, they don't think about that anymore. It's not like they don't like it anymore, it's just that they like have moved on, and it's not like taking up all of their lives. That's crucial to understand when you're just having one night stands with people. That's crucial to understand that it's not like the guy doesn't like you anymore. It's that like the peak part of what you're trying to do together is over, and there's not enough emotional connection built for him to like be interested. And so it's like not a you problem, it's just like the way that our bodies are built. It's like you're kind of, this is harsh, but it's like you're no longer needed if you don't build any other connection any other way, and it's just purely sexual. And so like that kind of explains there's nothing wrong. It's just he's just normal and you're just normal and you're just going about your day and like you're satisfied. Does that make sense? So understanding stuff about sex can help you understand stuff about how people interact with you and how you interact with them and like the motivations and stuff. So it's not just about you know, how to take care of your body. It like spills over socially and mentally and just like all kinds of different ways. So anyways, back to like what I originally kind of believed. So I originally kind of believed, like I said, you just find somebody that you're attracted to and you arrive to the situation kind of like owning it in the most categories that you can. You're good to go with how you've presented yourself up until now, and there's a good amount of electricity between the two of you, enough so that you want to bang, right? Like that's crude to say, but like you understand. And then there's like what happens when you remove your clothes. Are you insecure or are you not? Are you experienced enough to like not be nervous about the actual act? Because there's some like, there's some nervousness about like what's gonna happen. Not like, is he gonna hurt you or whatever? I did learn, surprisingly enough, on a side note, that, and this might be too much to talk about, but I thought it was interesting. So like I'm 39. So what I believe to be kind of like more rougher, intimate moments is now becoming very vanilla and very like standard. Like I would think that some of these rougher things like choking, I haven't experienced that because I typically don't have a lot of interaction with people that are much younger than me when it comes to physical intimacy. Like I try to date around my age. And so the norm for the people around my age is, well, from what I've experienced, like that, like choking and that kind of stuff is still kind of a little bit on the fringe. Like on the fringe enough that you would like talk about what you like and what you don't like beforehand. Like you still check in before you just start doing that. And I learned from like this podcast that like the younger people are like, that's just very normal. They were giving statistics about the people who like hooked up or whatever, and that just happened during casual dating, like not even with somebody who like they're like dating because they're like in love or whatever. Like it's not something that they just established. Like this was just an act that was very vanilla and just like whipped out. And I was like, wow, like I'm either very out of touch with what's going on, or like I don't understand how, like I'm just like, I don't know, like I feel like we're very behind. I felt like, not that I wanted to do that, but I was just like, wow, like here I am, like I don't even know how like my body works, and other people are just thinking that this thing is just so vanilla. Like that's so different from like where I am. I'm not like prude, but like I don't consider, me personally, I don't consider choking to be vanilla. I don't consider like that kind of stuff to be something that's just standard, especially when you don't know them during like a casual date. Like if I was to go on a date with like this would never happen, but like a 25-year-old or something, and we were hooking up and he did that, I would be like, this is traumatic. But like for people, I guess this is just very kind of normal, and I guess I don't know that because I'm not dating that age range where it's like that part has become normal. I'm still dating and experiencing with people that grew up with my type of norms. I don't know. So that really opened my eyes to like how important it is, I guess, to communicate and to not like assume. Because if somebody had just assumed that I was into that and like that's just so vanilla that they didn't have to like check in with me, right? And then that we hooked up and they did that, and they didn't, like, they just assumed that I thought that it was just as vanilla as they thought it was. It's not that they're insensitive, it's just that there's like a communication, there's like, I don't know what the problem is, but you can see there's clearly a problem. So like a generational problem, but I don't know if it would actually like really impact me, because I'm not going to, probably most likely going to hook up with somebody in that age range, right? But I could see how that could be a problem if you were still in that age range and that was not vanilla to you and not standard practice, and like that could create kind of like traumatic experiences. And you don't want to create traumatic experiences when you're that vulnerable with somebody. You want to go into it and then leave it like having good experiences. So that's what I was trying to understand. That's what I have been trying to understand for a while, but just this downtime of not hooking up with somebody during this time where my body kind of hurt, and just like having the desire to learn more from different types of resources. Like, I'd never just listen to podcasts strictly about the technique of learning how to have the best orgasms if you're a female, or learning what the body does when you're a guy, and how to prevent ED, and like all this kind of stuff. Like, I looked at it from both perspectives, like what could go wrong for the guy and what could go wrong for the girl, and how to make that like a little bit better. So I think that can also help you understand things like emotionally, like later on when people react a certain way. Like, if you just know certain things about the body because you've like done a little bit of research, or you've had experience enough to like know what's going on, you probably wouldn't get disappointed, or you probably wouldn't get shocked, or you probably would just feel like help the person feel comfortable to like create a better experience for you and that person. Or you could understand what they would do emotionally kind of after. Like, maybe some people would be kind of embarrassed and then they'd ghost you, or if like you were being casual, or if like somebody you had you saw that they couldn't get super hard with you, and like you could take it as like this isn't a me thing. Maybe they're having performance anxiety. Like, once you know what the body does during stress, and what the body does when it's like a comfortable situation, like you can make up your mind better, and not just go to like the insecure places that it tends to go to when you don't have that information. So even if you're not trying to have the best sex like I am or whatever, I think just learning what like is normal for the body, and like what's a normal kind of like hang up that happens during these things is like very crucial to understand. I think sexual health is like just so important for such a large amount of things, but you can see how it can trickle into like preventing problems if you just kind of get it. So that brings me to like me understanding that I have a responsibility when it comes to the actual hookup. Like, as I said, I can do all of my preparation on how I feel about myself and how I've interacted with the person and how I've helped create chemistry, received and given like those cues. So like what's internal, like how I manage my insecurities if I have some, and how I'm able to just be comfortable if I'm uncomfortable, like how to like manage that. That's kind of like, I've always known that was a me thing, but like I didn't know that like preparing my body to receive like the best kind of like hookup is also kind of like a thing that I can control. Previously, like I said, I always just thought that it was the guy that could create that, and I was just like not a receptacle, but I was just, I don't know, it didn't really matter what I did. as long as I was kind of into it. I don't know, but it's much more. So like understanding your body through your own exploration and like what gets you going is helpful. And this is like no crap, but it's like helpful to understand, okay, does my body take 15 minutes to warm up, or does it take 4 and it's like good to go? Like, I don't know about you, but when I've had casual hookups, like not a lot of them last hours and hours, and not a lot of them are like repeated, and not a lot of them really did a ton of stuff to make sure that I enjoyed it. It was like this kind of like quick thing that was, it was like rapture sometimes, because it was just like this, I don't know. It's different when you're dating, because like you have to see the person again and you actually care about them. I didn't know that I was picking the instance in which it was least likely for the woman to have an orgasm. So casual sex or whatever, one night stands, are statistically the least likely situation, if you're with a guy or whatever, that you're gonna actually have an orgasm too. You can enjoy yourself, but like to have an orgasm, to like finish or whatever, is least likely. Then it's like more likely if you are going to see that person again, but casual, like your F buddies. But then it's more likely after that that you're going to have an orgasm if you're a woman, if they're your boyfriend. And then I think it's like, I don't know if there's a massive difference. I don't remember the statistics. There's a massive difference between having a boyfriend and then being married for years. Like, it would just seem like if you've been with the same person for a really long time and they know your body and you're super, super comfortable and you know your body and how they interact with it and blah, blah, blah. Like, and they have the desire to please you because you're committed. All of those things combined equals you have the most likelihood to orgasm. Therefore, probably, if you're orgasming, I don't know if that's how you define the greatest sex or whatever, but I would think that most people are kind of end game orgasm-y kind of focused, which is like a problem in itself. But I think you can kind of define good sex as that. I think everybody can kind of like express that would be okay to define good sex as like you both achieve like really great orgasms at the end. So if you want to do that, like, but you're playing around with just one night stand people and you don't get to the other parts of like maybe a F buddy that really knows you, maybe a boyfriend, maybe like a super long committed relationship, and you don't get to experience where it's most statistically possible for you to do that. I was playing around with like the one night stands because I just thought that if I arrived to the situation willing to have this happen, then that was just all I had to do. And if I picked somebody that I was attracted to and they were attracted to me, and that's all I had to do. I didn't know that it was like different if there was levels of commitment. Like you would probably understand that like logically that makes sense, but for the reasons why it makes sense is where I didn't understand. And it's not just because like they're trying harder, it's just to do with like a lot to do with like your body and like how comfortable you are with somebody. Like, I've had repeated sex with somebody, the same person, and we had bad sex the first time, but like really decent sex the fourth time, and I wasn't committed with them at all, and they didn't really even like me, I don't think, that much. outside of this, and I really didn't them either. And so it's not like I need to like experience like long-term commitment to get it, but like you need to be comfortable with somebody, and you need to like get used to what turns you on when you're with them and vice versa, and like what they're, you know, what kind of experience you have with them. So the reason why I bring up like the it's least likely to happen with like what I was trying to do, it's like no wonder I was having bad experiences. I thought it was broken. I was just picking the person, the type of situation that was going to be least likely for me to have that happen. And I don't want to like scare you off with like the details, but like I don't know about you, but like for me, even if I'm super attracted to them and they're super attracted to me, if this is the first time we've ever hooked up, most of the time it's kind of like male focused, because I know that they're most likely going to have an orgasm. They don't have to pull out all the stops, right? It's just like the first time you hook up, and then when you're kind of casually dating, maybe you're not gonna hook up again because of all the ghosting thing and like all the different ways in which people don't want to commit to each other right now, or like however long we've been talking about this whole dating thing. Like we've already established that that's pretty normal. So to expect to have this mind-blowing sexual experience with somebody who like probably isn't gonna see you again, they're only gonna try so hard, and most likely no matter what's gonna happen, it's like a 95% chance that they're gonna get off. But like it's very low. I think it's like a 30 or something percent chance that you as a woman are gonna get off. And as I was trying to say before, like the sexual act doesn't usually last a long time, like enough for me to like warm up. It might take me a long time the first time, because I'm like nervous, and if I don't see that they're super into pleasing me in certain ways that I like, or like getting to like the part where I'm warmed up enough that I'm enjoying it really a lot, like they're just kind of having sex for like their enjoyment at that point, because like, dude, why not? Like I get it. I get why that was a bad idea to pick that in order to learn from. Like I said, I learned other things, but I'm kind of learning now in hindsight why me having one night stands with people, why it didn't produce good results for what I thought that good sex was. They're not that motivated to experiment with me, and like they're gonna get off anyways, so might as well do like the least amount of work, right? Like a lot of people are not super worried about making it great for me because they probably don't even, you know, are motivated enough to like want to see me again. So that's the kind of sex that I was having, and I just thought that I was broken. It wasn't until later that I learned that like my body needs time to warm up. And like, how did I learn that? I learned that because I wanted to learn how to, this is embarrassing, like it's not embarrassing, but it's like, I'm a little bit nervous to say this on camera, but like I had a really strong desire to like learn how to squirt, like female ejaculate. Like I always thought that was like the epitome of what somebody who's like really enjoying themselves is experiencing. And so like I deep dived into like, you know, what kind of woman can do that? Can only certain kind of women do that? Like what are the common factors of the type of person that can do that? And I sort of believe that almost anybody can do it, because I was nowhere close to it. I wanted to like my whole life, and I was like, well, as like long as I knew about people capable of that, I was like, I can't do that. Like, there's no way. I began to like really break it down. I looked on Reddit, like how does this happen? Because if you look on porn, it just like seems very easy, and it seems like it's like the most pleasurable thing ever. But if you actually like look into like people or talk to people who can do it, there's like a variety of different things that you can try yourself to like reproduce this, to like get your body to do this. And I was curious, and I didn't really understand that I hadn't been giving my body enough time to be warmed up from stimulation, which sounds really dumb. I just didn't know, because the way that I'd pleasured myself before was not internal, and it was just very easy. And like I said in the very beginning, sex with someone is different than that by yourself. And that's like obviously another no crap moment, but like I just thought that it was just as easy. Like once I wrapped my head around that it's different and there's going to be different components, similar, yes, because my body is the same, but like different components of how another person hits my insides or does certain things, or I tense up, or blah blah blah. There's all these different things that I can control and not control, and to understand how to give myself the ability to be in a situation more pleasurably versus like all tensed up and like, you know, not experiencing things. So when I began to understand that I wanted to learn how to do this certain thing, and then I began to practice certain elements of what I was learning, I began to understand what my body responded to. And I began to understand that I'd been doing things super kind of wrong for my own pleasure and not even knowing it until I began to experience pleasure, because I was just exploring. And that meant that I was able to tell the people that I was intimate with like what works for me, when previously I couldn't really tell them anything because I didn't know. Like all of my one night stand sex never really got me there. And like, you know, I've been wanting to learn this, but I just didn't know how. I didn't know that there was like techniques and like things that I could do with my own body and how to respond that like changed everything up. And it was like this like world of possibilities began to open when I was very closed off to the possibilities, and I was like, well, I can only finish this certain way during this type of thing, and like if all of the freaking stars align and blah blah blah. And now it's like I have ideas of the possibility of stuff, and I actually experienced it a little bit, like the squirting thing, and I realized that like I could do it without finishing, and I could do it under certain parameters, and that it didn't feel any better or worse. It was just different. It's like a different part of your anatomy that's getting stimulated, but it's all part of like the same system of nerves and stuff, and like the same area of your brain that is being lit up by the stimulation. So it's similar, but it's just different. And maybe the people on porn that are like, you know, going crazy during this time where they're like squirting everywhere, maybe they're just like, their bodies have learned how to connect all of those different elements, or maybe they're just faking it or like whatever. But I learned that for a fact. I know that you can have that go on with your body, and then it doesn't feel mind-blowing. It's just like a thing that you can do. And I have yet to connect it with something mind-blowing, but I have no doubts that I could learn how to connect more things. And so it's like, it's not so, my idea about how to achieve the best intimacy with somebody is like how I can prepare my body, and like how I can communicate that to somebody, And like, I'm comfortable enough to communicate this to you like as a stranger. So like, I'm very comfortable communicating this with the people that I'm intimate with. And I think that that's like, not like step one, but that's like step, I don't know, 5 or 6 along this whole big like thing of how to do it. Yeah, you have to arrive confident. You have to like get that sorted out. You can't just like be dreading the whole you only have sex with like the lights off, and then like you can only, you know, there's so many things that I'm past. Like, I can have sex with the, like, during the middle of the morning where it's full-blown light and with a perfect stranger. Like, I've gotten to that part where like it's no longer like, I'm no longer ashamed of my body. It's not perfect, but like, I'm confident in it. And I just have realized that guys don't necessarily like when it's perfect anyways. Like, they sometimes actually do like it when you're just yourself and natural. It's like, you'll find people that you can be comfortable with. And so like, the insecurities about that like were really stopping me before, but like, I've dropped that, and like I've moved on to like, okay, how to learn about technique. So like, it's not so much about me being in my head and like me like preventing like this good outcome from happening, or it's not so much that the guy didn't do certain things for me. It's like, I understand more things about what is pleasurable for me, and then to create like a nice interaction with them during and before and after or whatever, that I can just make this better for myself and not just give away so much of the responsibility to them. And it's nice to be like, well, it doesn't matter if I'm in a super long-term committed relationship where they like me. I just know how to recreate this kind of thing with somebody, and I could still get some pleasure from it. I'm sure that if you had an emotional connection that was like out of this world, and a lot of trust, that this could elevate to like the next level, and that's how you probably achieve the best sexual experience. But I don't believe that you should have like crappy kind of sexual experiences up until the point where that happens in your life. You might be waiting a while, or maybe that never happens, and then you'll be like, I missed out on a lot. When like, you could just be doing like a few different things to like explore and to like learn about bodies from like reputable places, or just becoming more comfortable with certain things about yourself, or improving communication to another person, and like, kind of, that's just comfortable. Like, there's certain things that you can just get better at, that you don't have to rely on the perfect situation. You can just help yourself during the times where it's like imperfect. So I haven't put it to the test yet, because I haven't really hooked up with anybody since I've been doing like a lot of this exploration kind of like on my own with like the podcast, and like the learning how to like squirt by myself or whatever. But like, I'm excited. It's just like, my body is not doing well, like I said, like the whole neck thing. And during my time of like self-exploration, where I like tried to like learn how to see if I could squirt, was the time that I realized that maybe my nerves in my spine were like getting messed up enough so that I wasn't really feeling the sensations properly. And had I not done that self-exploration, I would have not known that there was like a massive thing wrong with a big part of my body. So I'm kind of happy that I did that. It's really important to be aware of like the processes of what's going on in your body. I think being aware can also increase anxiety. Everybody knows like the whole saying of ignorance is bliss, but awareness is also kind of crucial. So anyways, I thought that this was just an interesting thing. So I'm gonna leave some of the podcasts that I really found interesting. I'm going to leave links to different Reddit sub things I don't even know what they call it. I feel like Reddit is very weird with like strict rules and stuff. Like the mods are like kind of crazy. So anyways, I'm gonna leave my resources that I personally found helpful during this time of exploration. And if you want to check them out, check them out. If you don't, then you know, it's up to you. Maybe you're way past me, and I really hope that you are. Like I'm very happy for you if you've kind of like got this part sort of figured out. But I wanted to not like really shock you. That's not what I wanted to do today. And I didn't want to be like, oh, hey, this is what I do with my free time. I just wanted to like say these things because I feel like it's normal to talk about. But this is my progress on this part of the thing that I've been working on, and I haven't really been doing kind of a lot with other things that I've been working on because of all the factors of my life right now. But I wanted to share this because it was important. It's like a little breakthrough moment, and I'm excited to put it to the test when my body is better. I have been doing a lot of stress management, heavy stress management, and I think that that plays into how well my body will respond. So moving forward, I think I'm going to be more confident, more capable, more communicative, and more understanding of what works for my body and what my body specifically needs during the act. And I'm going to try to arrive to it not stressed. So I think I'm going to overall improve my experience no matter what. And I'll let you know. Maybe you don't want to know. That's okay too. But I'm excited to find out. So that was my progress, and I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.